1800 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister, while performing the groundbreaking of Ravi Riverfront Urban Development Project in Lahore today, said the vision of Naya Pakistan is to lift the people out of poverty. The Federal Cabinet at its meeting in Islamabad today expressed satisfaction over the resumption of educational activities across the country following the improvement of COVID-19 situation. Pakistan has strongly condemned the recent missile and drone strikes by the Houthis on Saudi Arabia. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization has rejected India's objections to Pakistan's new political map. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the Indian military establishment has been unconstitutionally allotted hundreds of thousands of canals of land to settle retired military personnel and Hindu zealots in order to alter the demography of the territory. China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations will focus their cooperation on fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan today performed the groundbreaking of Ravi Riverfront Urban Development Project in Lahore today. Speaking on the occasion, he said this will be a planned city equipped with all the latest facilities. He said 6 million trees will be planted in it. The Prime Minister said the people at home and international level are evincing keen interest in this mega project. He directed the provincial government that there should not be any delay in the execution of this project and assured the federal government's full support in this regard. The Prime Minister said the government will provide basic infrastructure in the new city project, while the rest of the city will be raised from the investment. He said this city will have separate centers for information and technology and education. Imran Khan said there will also be affordable housing in the city to accommodate the poor people. He said the government is also giving loans on low interest rates so that the salaried class, labourers and low-income groups could own their houses. The Prime Minister said the vision of Naya Pakistan is to lift the people out of poverty. The Federal Cabinet, which met in Islamabad today with the Prime Minister Imran Khan in the chair, expressed satisfaction over the resumption of educational activities across the country following the improvement in COVID-19 situation. Later briefing the media persons, the Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Shibli Faraz, urged the educational institutions to fully comply with the standard operating procedures to avoid the spread of coronavirus. The Cabinet also considered an amendment in the Electoral Act to make it binding on the elected members to take oath of their office within 60 to 90 days after the elections. Shibli Faraz said the cabinet meeting reviewed matters pertaining to irregular constructions. He said the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf governments in the provinces have been directed to prepare master plans of their major cities to ensure planned construction. The minister said the government accords priority to the protection of green areas, and the cabinet decided not to regularize the illegal construction of a prison on a green area in the federal capital. He said this facility will be demolished and an inquiry will be conducted against those who approved it. He said the prison will be constructed at an alternate place in Islamabad. The Minister for Federal Education and Professional Training, Shafqat Mahmood, says educational institution activities are being restored in the country as a result of the government's effective strategy in the wake of COVID-19. Talking to media in Islamabad today, he said all the educational institutions are being monitored in terms of implementing standard operating procedures, and warning will be issued in case of negligence in this regard. The minister urged the students to wear face masks and keep washing hands with short intervals to protect themselves from coronavirus. Earlier, the minister visited various educational institutions of Islamabad and reviewed the implementation of standard operating procedures. The President, Dr. Arif Alvi, has emphasized the need of promoting inexpensive distance education to accelerate the country's pace of progress. Addressing a convocation of Ghulam Ishaq Khan Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology in Islamabad today, he said distance education will help the country to develop its human resource. The president said the universities need to increase the content of distance education so that everyone has an opportunity to get higher education. This is Radio Pakistan. Pakistan has strongly condemned the recent missile and drone strikes by Houthis on Saudi Arabia in violation of the kingdom's sovereignty and territorial integrity. In a statement, the Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry said, "We commend as to how Saudi Arabia's successful defensive actions prevented the loss of many innocent civilian lives." He said Pakistan expressed full solidarity with Saudi Arabia and supports the kingdom's right to defend itself against aggression. The spokesperson said Pakistan has consistently urged all the parties to the conflict in Yemen to engage in a meaningful and peaceful dialogue to end the hostilities in line with the United Nations Security Council resolution. Pakistan has strongly rejected the unwarranted references to Pakistan in the joint statement of US-India Counter-Terrorism Joint Working Group and Designations Dialogue. In a statement today, the Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry said our serious concerns and rejection of the unacceptable reference to Pakistan in the joint statement have been conveyed to the American side. He said it is important that partner countries take an objective view of the issues of peace and security in South Asia and refrain from endorsing positions that are one-sided, having no link with ground realities. The spokesperson said the international community is well aware that Pakistan is a country most affected by cross-border terrorism, sponsored and supported by India. He said the international community also recognizes Pakistan's efforts, sacrifices and successes in the fight against terrorism. A meeting of the National Security Advisors of Shanghai Cooperation Organization has rejected India's objections to Pakistan's new political map. Special Assistant on National Security Moeed Yusuf represented Pakistan in the online meeting. India, which was represented by Ajit Doval, had formally raised an objection against Pakistan on the display of the political map. In its reply, Pakistan highlighted that India, under international law, had no legal rights to claim the internationally recognized disputed territory of Jammu and Kashmir as part of India. Pakistan also categorically rejected Indian assertions that the newly released political map included any part of Indian territory. Pakistan informed the SCO Secretariat that India's illegal and unilateral actions in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir were in grave violation of the United Nations Charter and the United Nations Security Council resolutions on the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the Indian troops launched a cordon search operation in Marwal area of the Pulwama district today. According to Kashmir Media Service, the Indian troops subjected 3 journalists, including photojournalist Kamran Yusuf, to brutal torture in Pulwama district while they were performing professional duties in Kakapura area of Pulwama district. On the other hand, the Indian military establishment has been unconstitutionally allotted hundreds of thousands of canals of land to settle retired military personnel and Hindu zealots in order to alter the demography of the territory. Meanwhile, the International Day of Democracy was observed today to review the state of democracy in the world, but the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir continues to remain devoid of any democratic rights. China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations will focus their cooperation on fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. At a virtual press conference, Chinese ambassador to ASEAN, Deng Xinqian, said ASEAN and China have set a fine example in anti-pandemic cooperation since the outbreak of COVID-19. And finally, the weather. Mainly hot and dry weather is likely to prevail in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. However, rain thunderstorm is expected at isolated places in Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Lower Sindh, South Punjab and Gilgit-Baltistan. To end the news, here once again are some of the headlines. Prime Minister, while performing the groundbreaking of Ravi Riverfront Urban Development Project in Lahore today, said the vision of Naya Pakistan is to lift the people out of poverty. The Federal Cabinet at its meeting in Islamabad today expressed satisfaction over the resumption of educational activities across the country following improvement of COVID-19 situation. Those were some of the headlines, and that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News.